Again, thank you for joining us. I'm Rob Satloff, the director of the Washington Institute. And I invite all of you who are watching to join and participate in today's event as we reach our question and answer discussion later in the event. Please feel free to contact me directly, either using the Q&A function of your Zoom bar or to email me directly with your questions or comments. You can reach me at rsatloff@washingtoninstitute.org. If you are watching, then you know what a terrible year it has been across the Middle East. It is what Queen Elizabeth once called, under different circumstances, annus horribilis. If you are in Israel, you know that this year began almost exactly a year ago with the barbaric attack of October 7th, and it has continued with a terrible year of sacrifice and tragedy that have included attacks from very far away, even from countries hundreds of kilometers away, like Yemen and Iran, against whom you have no claim or quarrel. And it has also included a year in which your fellow countrymen have been held hostage deep in the tunnels under Gaza. If you're in an Arab country, it's been a terrible year as well. You have watched as fellow Arabs have suffered. You have been angered. You've been outraged as you've seen ordinary people perhaps pay for decisions of others. Even if quietly you may cheer at the just deserts that befell a Sinwar or a Nasrallah, this too has been tempered by your anger, your outrage at what has befallen innocent civilians, whether they're in Gaza or Lebanon or elsewhere. If you're around the world and you're watching, you have seen one of the most difficult, bloody, and tragic years in a region that has known far too many years that have been difficult, bloody, and tragic. And yet, there is a saying in my faith tradition, which is that one says perhaps only half in jest, and that is, it could only be worse. It could still be worse. And one way in which it could be worse is if the foundations, if the pillars of what still pass for stability in the Middle East have themselves ruptured, have themselves broken, have themselves fallen down. One of those pillars we recall today. It is one that is often taken for granted, but it is one that has stood, at least so far, the test of time. 30 years. In the history of the Middle East, 30 years is the blink of an eye. But 30 years in the modern history of the Middle East, given everything that has happened over the past 30 years, is no small achievement. And so today we recall the achievement of Jordan-Israel peace. We remember that in the history of these two countries, there were decades of great fighting, great battles. In the 40s, it was over Jerusalem. In the 50s, it was over cross-border attacks between the two countries. Then, of course, the War of June 67, which severed the Hashemite kingdom. And then the long path eventually to peace in 1994. We remember today the courageous decisions of peacemakers, especially those who are no longer with us today. Peacemakers, King Hussein of Jordan and Yitzhak Rabin of Israel. And we remember the brave decisions they took to overcome decades of hostility and enmity to build a peace along the longest border that each shares. So before we begin, before I introduce our two very important speakers, let us take a moment to go back in time, to go back to those images in the desert between Jordan and Israel 30 years ago. And we remember the peacemakers and what they created.
I stand here before you today Together with President Clinton, Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin, President Weizmann, and all our distinguished colleagues and friends. An unusual day. A day like no other in terms of the hopes, in terms of the promise, and in terms of the determination.
There comes a time when there is a need to be strong and to make courageous decisions to overcome the minefields, the drought, the barrenness between our two peoples.
Your Majesty, Mr. Prime Minister, here in the Great Rift Valley, you have bridged the tragic rift that separated your people for too long. Here in this region, which is the home of not only both your faiths, but mine, I say, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall inherit the earth.
It is important every now and then to take a look at that film to remind us where this peace was born and how this peace was born. It is now, of course, 30 years later. New leaders, new times, new challenges. 30 years later, peace did not produce quite the achievement that the leaders originally thought would be possible 30 years ago, but it has endured. And it has brought benefits to both sides of the border. And with all the challenges of the past year, even with the voices that one hears in certain parts of both Jordanian and Israeli society and politics that even take aim at the treaty between them, this is a treaty that has endured and one that still has benefits and still has hopes that are alive for both Jordanian and Israeli peoples. Today, I'm joined by two very prominent statesmen, one Israeli, one Jordanian, in order to offer their views on the achievement of Jordan-Israel peace, on the enduring significance of this treaty, and the role it can play as we look forward to the future relationship between these two parties, even in the contexts of the great challenges that we all face today. I expect that our speakers will not agree on everything because they have different experiences, different views of the world. But yet I also expect that our speakers today will reflect something that is deep in the heart of the Jordan-Israel relationship, which I hope is animated as we go forward in the future. And that is a sense of civility and a sense of understanding the interests that each side brings to this relationship. And I am confident in that, given the deep quality and high respect with which each speaker has in his society and more broadly around the world. It gives me great honor and great pleasure to introduce first, the former president of the State of Israel, former speaker of the Israeli parliament, the Knesset, longtime legislator, and I think one of the most beloved members of the Israeli body politic, former President Reuven Rivlin. And then, after we hear from President Rivlin, it is a great honor for me to turn, sitting in Amman, to the Honorable Jawad Anani. Dr. Anani served as a deputy prime minister, served as foreign minister and other ministerial positions, served as chief of the Royal Hashemite Court for the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. It is really a great pleasure to have both of you gentlemen, one in Jerusalem, the other in Amman, joining us today through the wonders of technology. to offer your views on this important commemoration, and then we'll be able to have a conversation, and I will invite the questions and comments from our viewers around the world. So first, I'll turn to you, President Rivlin, and then to you, Dr. Anani. President Rivlin, the floor is yours. Audio, President Rivlin, you're still on mute. Just press the unmute button.
Now do you hear me?
Yes, we hear you loud and clear.
So, good day to you, good afternoon to you. If you were here, Dr. Anani, probably I would say to you, Masai al-Khair, because we have, of course, in the region, several languages that we are using, but Arabic and Hebrew are necessary for having a real relationship between our two people, not only between the governments. We had a lot of expectation. And what have happened this year really lights up red lights to everyone saying what is going on. Before that, the Al-Qaeda, what they are doing to the whole region, because we know very well that cooperation altogether could bring us really to a new Middle East, as President Peres, the 9th president of Israel, always told me, and I thought that he's a dreamer, and I must say that today it is possible. If we will all learn the benefit that we get from cooperation between all of us, in spite of all the differences of opinion that we have from time to time, we are in a really a dream that we can see a new region, a new Middle East as a result and as a consequence out of the contract, the peace agreement that was signed between us and that was shown when the three leaders, King Abdullah II, King Hussein, and King Abdullah is his son, King Hussein, Yitzhak Rabin, Allah Yerhamu, and of course Bill Clinton, the President of the United States. We had a lot of expectation. Now we are asking ourselves, the demand of 2 states for 2 people, which mean not the Oslo Agreement, but the consequence of the Oslo Agreement, which bring us to the idea of a free Palestinian state with borders with Israel and with Jordan, and more than that, with open borders to everyone that the Palestinian will really invite to come and to stay under their sovereignty. So you understand that the idea of 2 states for 2 people, which mean a separate Palestinian state, which would be separate from Israel and separate from Jordan. At the time in London, 86, President Peres have offered the idea of a confederation between us, between Israel and Jordan, including, of course, the Palestinian in between, which means the Palestinians will hold the A section according to the Oslo, so and so. That is very well known to all of your audience, Rob. But now if we are talking about open borders between the people of Jordan, and that means the people of Jordan who are supporting the Hamas, who are supporting the Al-Qaeda, who are supporting the Islamic Brotherhood, are really bringing the idea and the thoughts here in Israel whether it is possible. We have almost 350 kilometers border between Israel and Jordan. It is actually, and from a security point of view, it is open border. We understand that this is a border between neighbors that can cooperate, can do the best for both of them, trying to forget the past. You know very well, Dr. Anani, that King Abdullah I have offered the Zionist movement in 1936 autonomy that the Jewish state would be inside and including the Hashemite kingdom of Jordan. And we at the time explained to him that we need our own country in order to make it able for our people to return to the homeland, to the promised land, because we have no other land. We have managed to understand with the brave Jordanian soldiers at the 6 Days War how important is to be one against the other when it is needed, and how to cooperate, and even how to cooperate once you are talking about the situation when we are still in a war, and we have to look into the future to bring to an end this situation. So we have a lot of problems because now to support Al-Qaeda means to support a pan-Islamic state that brings it to a real danger to the very existence of Jordan as the Hashemite kingdom, of Iraq as the kingdom as it was before and as it is now, of Egypt, and of course of Saudi and the Emirates and everyone. So we need a lot to bring to the idea that cooperation now, fighting everyone who would like to fight, would wish to fight against every one of our states, to fight against us, the Jews, and to really find a way in order to cancel the idea of Arab-free countries like Egypt, Jordan, Saudi, and all others. So we are with a lot of hope. We know what we can achieve. And on the other hand, we are very worried about what have happened last year. And I know the feelings among the people of Jordan, because in Jordan now, 70 to 8% are Islamic brother and people who are supporting the Hamas. Thank you for listening to what I had to say about what have happened. Rob.
All right. Well, thank you, President Rivlin. We'll get back to be able to pose some questions to you after we have heard from Dr. Anani. So I'd like to turn the floor over to you, Dr. Jawad Al-Anani in Amman. Jawad, you have to turn, you're on mute still, Jawad.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Okay.
please, go ahead.
First of all, Arif Tov, and good evening. Because it is evening in this part of the world. Thank you, President Rivlin, for your insights. And I would like, of course, to take to give you a response to what you have just suggested. Well, first of all, what is really more saddening about the occasion that we are celebrating today is the fact that 30 years later, as if peace had never existed. Even countries which are not involved in the war are being traumatized by its consequences. And so therefore, we have to look for permanent peace. If there is something, rational people review what happened, they study it, they try to come up with certain formulae which would really change the current modus operandi from a state of focus on security only to focus on coexistence, living, human rights, and at the same time, what you refer to as more prosperous state of affairs. And I agree with that. So in a way, we are not, when late Mr. Perez, whom I had the honor of meeting you, Excellency, when I came to represent Jordan in the funeral of Mr. Perez on behalf of Jordan at that time. And I had a chance to shake hands with you. I really believe that we cannot continue, as Einstein would say, to use the same utensils and use the same approaches and expect a different outcome. I don't think so. I think we need to be a little bit more innovative. Otherwise, we will have longer wars in the future. And now the state of wars has changed tremendously. Wars are not fought between two countries or two governments. Wars are now being done between the Israeli government on one side and people whom you describe as terrorists and as out of touch with realities. I couldn't disagree with you more, but why are we surprised that there will be people who will really feed on that? And I was interested in a book called by some Professor Parsi, Losing an Enemy, if you remember that. Now, we don't want to find ourselves on both sides of the divide. One group which is really very, very much on the right, although it hates the other group on the other side, which is on the right, on the extreme right, and they are actually feeding into each other. They need each other to nourish the hatred and nourish the end of any potential for peace. Who's winning from that? Who is winning from this current situation? Is it Israel that is winning? Is it Jordan? Is it who? Who is winning, actually? We don't know. And so therefore, I believe that for us as peacemakers to regain the control and take the initiative, we need to create a real lasting peace that can stand and withstand the challenges and stand the test of time. And that is what I think we need, and that's what Jordan is calling for. To say that only security-focused peace will realize that, I think the previous 30 years of experience does not stand as testimonial to this. I believe that Jordan has stuck, it's resisted any calls or any claims that we should end peace with Israel. No. I remember 5 years ago, Rob, when you invited me to come to Washington Institute, and we made, at that time, it was 25 years since peace. And I met with the Israeli first ambassador to Jordan, and we gave a lecture at your center, and we debated that. But at that time, we were talking about details, about arrangements that failed to materialize, about certain projects that we aimed for and did not take place. Now we are talking about the question of existence of peace, and that really saddens me a lot. And we should find a way to really come out of this quagmire and develop a new approach to peace. The second one is that I have been reading some of the literature which came out from you, sir, when you were suggesting, President Rivlin, when you were suggesting the creation of one, that is annexation of land of the West Bank, total West Bank to Israel, and creating a new one-state solution under which all people will be probably granted. I don't know whether you said so. Yeah, one solution. Now, you want to link Jordan to that. I believe that the idea, revisiting the idea of this tripartite arrangement is very important. Thanks to Israeli acumen in using and development of technology. You have now abundant sources of water. You have found ways to utilize solar energy to create cheap sources of energy. You have done a lot in agriculture, in enhancing food production, and so on and so forth. This is something that we can bring to the table and everybody would benefit. But then the question is that our priority when we are going to face the potential of war every few years, and probably next time, if this time, this war takes 1 year or 2 months, 14 months, probably next time it will take much more. So in a way, we have to spare human lives. We have to spare the future. And the future is what we should invest in. And therefore, I think Jordan insists that we should have a peace. And I was extremely happy to see that many of my Jewish friends and counterparts who really called me, asking me about the statement which was made by our foreign minister, calling for a two-state solution. And they were interested in that. And I said, well, he did not come up. I talked to him yesterday on the phone, and we exchanged notes. And finally, he said, no, I did not mean anything new. This was the Arab initiative of 2002 during the summit conference of Arab leaders. And it was initially the idea of Saudi Arabia. So it was a Saudi initiative, which was developed into an Arab summit initiative, and then it became. Now we have a proposal there. We would like to see an Israeli counterpart. Now, what you suggested, okay, it's great. If we have two projects, even if they are diagonally different from each other, but we still, through negotiations, can sit down and hammer out a solution that would address your fears that Jordan is not going, sir, with all due respect, is not going to become an extremist state, nor will it become. We are against that totally, and we have managed to succeed and control all these movements, while they actually were the causes of destruction in countries like Syria, Iraq, and others. But Jordan had managed to cope very well, and it has proved its resiliency in dealing with all these matters. Now, with peace, we will be stronger. With peace, we will have much better chance not to allow anybody who are peace distorter to prevail and win the day. This is not going to happen in Jordan, and we, through our cooperation and proving that peace will have a dividend for each and every one, I think we can win. So I do insist that we should start a process or create the circumstances where we can go back ex post ante to the table and sit down and hammer out solutions. Whether these are very, very distant proposals from each other, but we need to sit down, hammer them, and do that. And I think that we need probably to start this process by going through what I would call track two process that can be hosted at any institution in the United States or in the Middle East or anywhere. I don't want to name your institution, Rob, but I think it's a suitable place. And so we can, or at Harvard University, as we did last time, or even at UCLA, political department. So anyway, we have many options, and let's hope that we can arrive right now at a ceasefire that would allow the release of all prisoners, captives, hostages, whatever you want to call them, and they go home, and then we are given a month to try to hammer out a permanent ceasefire, after which the atmospherics will change, and we will be in a much better position to really put down a permanent peace that we all need. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you both very much. Again, let me invite our viewers. If you want to get into this conversation, please send me a message at the Q&A function of your Zoom bar if you're on Zoom, or send me an email directly at rsatloff@washingtoninstitute.org. So let me pose a question to both of you. Look, you're both strong supporters of peace, even if you have a different conception of what maybe the solution of the Palestinian aspect of this equation will look like. You're both supporters of this Jordan-Israel peace, and you both know that within your own societies, there has emerged in the last 30 years certain elements which are not such strong supporters of this agreement. Maybe it's to a different degree, but we have seen just recently in Jordan, we saw the Muslim Brotherhood emerge as the largest vote getter in parliamentary elections. And we've seen in Israel certain parties on the far right who don't view Jordan as a legitimate state and want to create the alternative homeland over on the East Bank so that it's a different vision of the future of the Middle East. So my question to you is, what do you say to opponents within your own societies who don't value this relationship? What do you say to them about how important this is for your country? How President Rivlin, it's important for Israel, for Dr. Anani, how it's important for Jordan. I'll start with you first, President Rivlin.
Thank you. First of all, I must say that we are seeking for peace. We wish to live in peace because we came and returned to our homeland according to the Quran. Because my father, Professor Rivlin, he ترجم القرآن من Arabic إلى العبران, which means my father, have translated the Quran, and I know that in chapter 5, Surah 5, the frame of now, 20, from 23 to 26, Muhammad says that the land of Israel belongs to the children of Israel. Of course, I must say that I accepted, and I'm here in Jerusalem for 220 years. I mean, my family, we are living along. Ana ibn al-Balad. What annoys me when we have signed Oslo is that you even are defining the Hamas as freedom fighters, as if one who is seeking to get his own country. They are not freedom fighters. They are not seeking for their own states. They are seeking, first of all, their task and their goal is to get rid of Jews out of the Middle East, and that has to be clear. And we, in order to protect ourselves, in order to live in security, we need the ability to get hold of every danger that imposes towards our country. And when you are talking about the Hamas as a people who are only seeking to become free, I, for example, when I say, okay, if we are all together, and we are all together, we are not doomed to live together. It is we are destined to live together. It's our destiny to live together. And we will live together all the time because the Arabs cannot get rid of the Israelis, and the Israelis are not ready to get rid of the Arabs, and they cannot get rid. I've said if we need to really achieve the idea of one state, we have to let them know that it would be Israel, and of course they would be free citizen as I am, with no other. The only privilege, the only prerogative that Israel takes to her hand is the prerogative of the right of return to Jews into the homeland because they have no other place to get to. The Arab world is also mixed between Sunni and Shia. and it is involved also in the conflict that we are facing on our east side. There are people who believed every time that the state of Israel are on both sides of the river. I know that in 23 it came to an end. The decision was accepted by all Zionist movements, although we believe that the right, but when we are talking about reality, we understand. And there were, and there is the Hashemite kingdom of Jordan, and there is a lot of, I don't want to talk about Jordan in order not to be involved and not to involve the Jordanians in their habit or in their situation with all the people who came from the West Bank and all the people who came from Syria and all the people who came from Lebanon and all the people who are coming all the time. Jordan have a lot of difficulties, and I appreciate very much what King Abdullah I, who was a very good friend of my father, have done in order to bring to understanding between Israel, between Jews and Arabs in the Middle East, in the region, in the land of Israel. Palestine was actually named of both of us, and we have to find a way in order to live together. Now, I really believe that the open border with Jordan, the cooperation with Jordan, it was very, very important, not only to the Jordanians and to the Israelis, but also to the Palestinians, because they could help with a lot of jobs that were created. We have promised and we are supporting, according to what was agreed about the water, supporting water. Now we are supporting gas, although there are a lot of complaints from the Palestinian side or Palestinian citizens of Jordan about the cooperation, but it is very problematic. So when we are very limited in our time. So when I talk to you, we are both Bani al-Balad. We know exactly what is going on. Everyone can tell us stories or really take the example from the free world and from other democracies that were built. We are there for 4,000, since our both father, Abraham, brought us there. So we know exactly what are the problems. We need to find a way in order to live as we lived in the last 20 years with open borders almost with Jordan, because there are very few soldiers on the borders between Israel and Jordan, because we keep the peace. If somebody in Jordan will take a position and will really be able to run the state, I don't know what will happen. And we have to be very much careful. So you have to understand us. Let's go back to Oslo and find out how we can manage with the Israelis who are situated in Judah and Samaria, and how we can manage with all the people of the further Palestinians that were Palestinians at the time of the British mandate in the region, and to find a way in order to bring into a kind of solution that would bring all of us. But if we need two states or one state, I am for one state with every citizen equal to other citizens from citizen point of view, and the right of every citizen to live as the other. So, we have a lot to do. And I hope that we can really, with the help of Jordan and with the help of Egypt and with the help of the Saudian thought is very important to the region. If we can bring it to reality, it would be very good. If not, we are facing something that could be a real problem for all the region, because we have war between Shia and Sunni, and we have war between Israelis and all other parties are mixed with this conflict, a conflict that the free world should not deal with, and should bring it to an end. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Anani.
Thank you, Rob. Well, first of all, I appreciate the candor with which the whole matter was discussed by His Excellency, and I would like to respond to a few points. One of them is the fact that what happened on the borders over the last probably month, two incidents we had. The two of them now we have for sure information that those were individual incidents and not orchestrated by bigger groups. However, there was a mistake committed by the fact that some people consider that to be a heroic action, although officially Jordan made its position very clear. The first incident was individualistic, motivated by somebody, and he was not of Palestinian origin. The second one, it seems, that they were dressed in Jordanian army, but those were not Jordanian uniforms. And the Jordanian military spokesman had already made it very clear that that those did not come from the army. Although some people within the Islamic movement in Jordan were quick enough to call for festivities, the Jordanian government immediately intervened and ended that. So in a way, I think that Jordan has has shown its colors, and that it will never ever allow such things to happen. Of course, we have long borders. We have people who are emotional, people who watch what happens in Gaza. The children are crying, women, houses, hospitals, and so on and so forth. And that should create something. But that's not the model. That's not the common thing in Jordan. The second one is that, each country has its own let's call extremists. But Jordan handles itself very well with a great deal of resiliency. When the elections happened, all other parties were new. And the only movement that had been there for a long time was Muslim Brotherhood. And therefore, they won the elections. They won the elections because many people were in sympathy with what was happening in Gaza. Not that we condoned the 7th October events, no. But we were quick to deny those. Remember, our foreign minister participated in an Arab League meeting 1 week later and said that they criticized severely and the killing of citizens on both sides.
My dear friend Anani, 7th of October is not only a date. It is idea to get rid of all Jews from the region, to bring to an end the land of Israel, the state of Israel. We cannot ignore it because they said so.
That's right. You cannot ignore it. I can understand that. But I cannot understand that you should do so much damage, inflict so much pain and damage in Gaza. That why would I kill 35 Palestinians for every Israeli who was killed on the 7th of October? We don't condone that. We don't condone that at all. But we think that there is no way for them to conquer Israel or defeat Israel in a war. Come on, let us be frank. They cannot do that. And you said it a while ago, and I agree with that.
Of course, they can't bomb Haifa, and they can't bomb Rishon LeZion, and they can't bomb Ashkelon. And of course, we cannot bomb Gaza as long as they don't bomb us. They are sending rockets every day. We know how to protect ourselves.
I know, but I can understand that Gaza is a small area of only 360 square kilometers, and no matter, and with a 2.5 million population, and no matter where you throw any bomb, it's going to kill citizens. I can understand that. But, when you look at Israel, we have respect for its army and for what we call pinpoint precision in fighting. So in a way, we have to understand, and people must understand, why is that blanket bombardment of Gaza? Okay, this is my point that I'm saying that we need to explain to the people, and it is important. And it is embarrassing. Excuse me, sir. Please go ahead.
Continue. Now, we are trying to explain to our people and our army and our soldiers what they have to do and what they should not do. And they are being really in trial, in a military trial, when they are doing something wrong. But I must tell you, to talk, it's I believe I'm sure that this is your intention and this is your wishes to bring to an end this conflict. But they are declaring it is not a matter of kilometers of land or of money or oil. It is a matter that we don't want those people who are not Muslims to be in the land of Israel, which is a land that was under Islamic control, under Islamic sovereignty. They say so. They tell us every day. They teach their sons and daughters in the kindergarten. They are doing everything in order to bring to an end the idea of Israel, not only Israel. I know, I understand sometimes we have conflict that we are on the wrong side. It is possible. But on the real matter, there are no ambiguities here. They don't want Israel to exist. They don't want this.
Okay, so
Yes.
Dr. Anani, why don't you finish your point?
Okay, my point is that how are we going to disintermediate and marginalize those people without peace? Or are we going to play their game and allow this war to continue forever?
I really believe.
Yeah, that is my question.
This is the most important question. First of all, they have to leave aside every idea that they are going to destroy Israel and Israel could not exist, first of all. Then we have to go back to Oslo, maybe, and to really find the way in order to live either in 2 states for 2 people, or 1 state for 2 people, or confederation with Jordan, or confederation, a sort of confederation in this on the West Bank. That is very complicated because it is very problematic for Israel just now to have really majority that could become in no time a majority of non-Jews, and that is the problem. But I agree with you 100% that in order to have 1 state for 2 people, we need democracy all over the state.
So let me ask a question that is even going to further complicate the issue. There's a unique aspect of the Jordan-Israel peace treaty, which concerns the capital of the state of Israel. The capital of the state of Israel, according to the state of Israel, recognized by the United States and elsewhere, is the city of Jerusalem. Inside the Jordan-Israel peace treaty, there's a special status for Jordan, for the Hashemite kingdom as custodian of Muslim sites.
No, it's for the Hashemites.
The Muslim side,
for the Hashemites.
That the Hashemite kingdom would be responsible from the Muslim side. On the mountain, on the holy mountain.
So this is
all the masjids all the masjid, translating
So
the masjid.
let me just finish what I'm saying. So
Yes.
now we have 30 years experience with this sort of difficult, not easy to comprehend concept that inside the capital city of another country, there's a special status for the rulers of another country in terms of religious sites. When we look back on this 30 years of experience, do we now have greater confidence in each other as a result of this experience? Has this experience helped each side understand and work more cooperatively? Or has this experience been a regrettable experience for both sides? I'll start this one. Let me turn to you, Dr. Anani.
Yes, sir. Well, first of all, I think that the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan has already agreed with both the Israeli side and the Palestinian side. I mean, I'm talking about the Palestinian Authority, that the Hashemites are going to be the custodians of the holy places in Jerusalem.
Absolutely.
Now, yeah. So this is one point. The second point is that, we also take care of al-awqaf, trust, Muslim trust, places that like some schools and so on and so forth. Thirdly, the question is not what the Israeli government is doing or what the Israeli people are doing. It is the fact that there are threats to the sanctity of the Al-Aqsa Mosque every day. People go there and they threaten that. Jordan feels that it looks as if it had no control over that, and that the Israelis are getting away with this particular problem. Either we go back to the solution of 1948 and declare the holy, what we call Al-Quds Sharif, the holy, which is less than 1 square kilometers, and declare this as what? No man's land, or it belongs to 3 religions, or and try to find some sort of an arrangement that would satisfy everybody and allow freedom of worship for all. And then the second point that we in Jordan are asking ourselves, what is Jerusalem as far as Israel is concerned? Is it the municipal borders of 6 square kilometers as it was in 1967, or is it what, 40% of the total area of the West Bank, or what is it? So in a way, we are ambiguous about the definition of Jerusalem as far as Israel is concerned. So these are some of the issues, which need to be unfathomed in order for all of us to sit down and agree on what roles we need to do and so on. The third point that I would like to say is that you will never find a better peace partner than Jordan, believe me. Of course, there are problems, there are incidents, but there is no threat as far as Jordan is concerned. We have, sir, resisted all calls and pressures to say, okay, abort the peace treaty or whatever. We consider that as sheer and utter nonsense. I come up on television once in a while when people ask me, I said, no matter how bad things are, no matter whether the fact that King Hussein, King Abdullah, His Majesty King Abdullah and Mr. Netanyahu don't talk to each other.
King Abdullah الثاني
الثاني الملك عبد الله الثاني.
I'm the only one to say to King Abdullah.
Is not in good relations with Mr. Netanyahu, but still there are many Israelis and many Jordanians who can talk to each other and somehow resolve these problems. They meet on the borders, there is the coordination and so on and so forth. So anyway, I think that we don't take it lightly when some Israeli officials inside the government, as you had mentioned earlier in your first introduction, saying that Jordan is an alternative homeland for Palestine and so on. And you mentioned also, sir, the fact that Jordan has had its share of burdens. And right now, as you know, the population of Jordan is 11.5 million people. This number we should have reached if you will go back to 2010, just before what was called the Arab Spring, you will find that at that time our population was only 6.5 million. So in a way, we have increased by 5 million. And that number we should have reached in almost 2040. So in a way, we lost 17 years of building capacity. We don't have the pleasure nor the luxury to continue as is. We want the Syrians to take back their refugees. We want to, and Jordan is really poor in natural resources, as you know. So in a way, to try to concoct a decent living, we need peace. Peace is very important for us. We don't only ask for it out of emotional gestures, but also because it is an existential issue as far as we are concerned. And therefore, sir, believe me that we are sticking to peace and we want it, but we want also the main sources which continue to inhibit the possibilities of a long permanent peace to end. And that is coming to it. So I am open. I thank you for making the three points, either two-state solution or with tripartite arrangement or one-state solution vis-a-vis Jordan. So in a way,
cooperation.
Ala Paris proposal, the new Middle East. But I hope that's what Mr. Netanyahu means by saying new Middle East. So this is the new Middle East we need.
New Middle East came from Paris, not from Netanyahu.
Yeah, Paris. Yes, I know, but now Mr.
Netanyahu accepted the idea.
We accepted the idea also in Jordan.
As the former president of Israel, I cannot relate to people who are dealing with politics just now. So we'll talk about the real problem that you have raised in your words just now. First of all, there is no ambiguity about Jerusalem. Jerusalem is the capital of Israel. Of course, we are in Jerusalem. There are 300,000 Palestinians living with full rights under the government of Israel. They are being treated as if they are citizens. If they would wish to become a citizen of Israel, now it's a little bit more difficult, but at the time, in 1967, they could get the Israeli passport immediately and Israeli citizenship. So we have no problem. We, the Israelis, we have no ambiguity. You had a real demands once we talked about the holy places. And I must say that Menachem Begin at the time, God bless his soul, and Levi Eshkol agreed altogether. I was there at the time that they agreed, that Menachem Begin agreed, in order to let them, to show them that we have no war whatsoever against Muslims, or the Muslims have any kind of war against the Jews, never ever. We had some difficult separation in ideas when Muhammad was talking to the Jews in Medina, in Santan. Then the Hijrah was, and he went to Mecca. Now we respect for the last more than 50 years, the rights of all the Muslims on the Holy Mountain. The Holy Mountain is the mountain that Al-Aqsa and השם השני? Al-Aqsa and Omar and Masjid Omar are there. And of course, they are really, I know what is written in the Quran, and I know what unfortunately, from Islamic point of view, and from people who really knows how to read the Quran and to understand it, I really, it is surprising that Jerusalem is not mentioned even in the Quran. Muhammad has said, no, we are in Mecca, and the land of Israel belongs to the children of Israel. But there is no ambiguity whatsoever. But we respect, and the American embassy respects the rights of every Palestinian from every zone in Judah and Samaria to come and to get all the services that he needs once it concerns the United States in the consulate in Jerusalem. And I don't know, I know why, but I don't want to discuss just now what was the reason to come into this kind of solution. So you have to understand, and we are really, and I believe in peace, because as I said before, we lived with Arabs for 220 years. You are saying that at the time there were 5 million Jordanians. When I was born 85 years ago, exactly, almost a week, 85 and a week, there were in Israel only 200,000 Jews. The dream of the Jewish people being helped by many, many Muslims who really believed that chapter 5 in the Quran is right, that the Jews have to have their own. There were many political suggestions. I really believe that we have to go through the ideas of the Saudian plan to find a way in order to cooperate, in order to bring our region to become a region that influences Europe more than Europe influences our region. And we can do it. And if we will get to this point, and everyone will see that cooperation could bring us a lot of advantages. So I'm sure that we will find a solution how to live in our area. We know now that we have Jordan, we have Israel, and we have the West Bank, the territories, Judah and Samaria. And we have a problem that it is also Egyptian problem in Gaza. And we are not going to go into the problems of Gaza just now, because it's very, very complicated for your audience to go into those matters just now. We are in real conflict. So I believe that sometimes you have to be clever and without thinking, say, we need to cooperate. The moment everyone will see the consequence of this cooperation, they will start to find the reasons why to live together. As we said, and as I say all the time to the people of Israel, we Israelis and Arabs of the region are not doomed to live together. We have no war with Islam. We are destined to live together. And if like we can talk, we have a lot of differences of opinion. Why we refused in 1936 to be part of the autonomy of King Abdallah El-Awwal, King Abdallah, yeah. And you are asking the same questions just now. We have to find, first of all, the ability to look and to say and to show everyone that we are cooperating and peace is possible and the best solution for every one of us.
Thank you. Thank you very much, President Rivlin. Dr. Anani, any final word?
Yeah, I just would like to say that whatever differences we have, we cannot resolve them right now. But we each has his own demons also to deal with. But at the same time, I think that we need to agree that it is very urgent and very important that a peace talks should really begin with ending the current situation. We should also look for security for everybody to live in peace. And thirdly, we need a political process down the line. If we can put all these formulae together, I think that whatever we want to do in the future will happen. I'm not pessimistic. I'm not saying that nor am I naive. I am a negotiator. I know how things can go, but I believe whenever there is a will, there is a way. And I agree with the fact that if you have a project, and I'm glad that what I heard from President Rivlin is that he has a project, and let's put it on the table and put our Arab initiative on the table. And he, in principle, had accepted to deal with that. And we will also, in principle, accept to deal with what he's proposing. So in a way, there is common ground from which we can really that we can build on. But we need, first of all, to get rid of the current situation because it is imperative and it is complicating the whole situation and it's souring feelings. And I hope that very soon as possible, yesterday before today, that this war is over.
So,
I agree.
friends,
I only want one sentence to say. I agree with you in every word you have said. But remember, first of all, you have to stop the hostility. And that is the job and the really the main and the most important have to do it. The all Arab nations have to get up. The all Arab Sunni nation have to get up and to say the way of the Hamas, the way of Al Qaeda is not accepted by any one of us.
So, look, more than any particular word that either of you said, and you both said some very important words, the real importance of today's event, from my perspective, is to remind people that across the Jordan River, there are thinking men and women who are committed to peace, who may not be as loud as the ones who wave the flags and have the banners and are taking to the streets, but yet they have the ideas and the commitment to peace and cooperation. People like President Rivlin and His Excellency Dr. Anani, that this peace lasted for 30 years for a reason. It lasted the death of King Hussein. It lasted the death of Yitzhak Rabin for a reason. Those reasons are based on interests of the two sides and the commitment that the leaders and the peoples who inherited from King Hussein and from Yitzhak Rabin understood were the interests of the peoples. And hopefully, as we move forward, we can continue to have a relationship supported by the United States. The United States is, of course, the most significant partner and financial supporter to both these two countries. That supported by the United States, they can continue to deepen and build their peace. I will say that earlier this morning, I had a phone call from your successor, President Rivlin, from President Herzog, who knew that we were having this event and who asked me if I would relay his personal support and commendation for the deepening, the enduring partnership between the Hashemite Kingdom and the State of Israel, echoing the call that both of you made to anchor the next 30 years of relationship in an even deeper partnership of peace. And so with that, I want to thank you both. Differences aside, what is most important is this enduring commitment to a relationship of peace. I want to thank you, President Reuven Rivlin, Thank you, Dr. Jawad Anani, for joining us here at the Washington Institute for the 30th anniversary commemoration of the Jordan-Israel Peace Treaty. Thank you all for joining us.